Hello, hello!
Hello.
Welcome to All About the Bass. This is Cece.
This is Lee.
Ah, thanks.
We swapped.
We swapped. And today, we're sliding and slipping all over the place. Just like that. Yeah, and asking some questions. Why would you want one of these? Why would you want a fretless bass?
Why would you not?
And why would you not? Exactly, when you can do that, right? So hopefully it's interesting. Stick around with us and we'll see you shortly. We got through it.
Risky.
You may tell very quickly, we don't usually play these sort of things. So this will be fun, but maybe you don't either, right? So it's a rarity.
This is a video for you.
Totally, you know, lovely, obviously beautiful sound, sort of harping back to, you know, more of a double bass presence kind of thing.
It's a very traditional kind of sound.
Absolutely. And then you've added all the modern gizmos where you can punch certain EQs and everything with this, you know, certain frequencies. You can really sort of morph it into what you need. I mean, there's modern players that use them with picks and like full tone on, and it's more of like a rock thing. I always think of Pearl Jam, for example.
Yeah,
you know, like
Jack Bruce as well.
Totally, on the EBO. Yeah, and you mentioned Les Claypool as well.
I think you're a pretty solid fretless player in comparison.
Thank you. So I've had one in the past, but it's normally just got dusty, apart from the old gig, you know, the old thing that's just been pulled out for. So, so as you can see, just to talk you through, you might even know what we're talking about. Like, what's different? So, they have no frets. Yeah. Right. I'm not gonna.
And that makes a huge difference.
Totally.
Because of intonation.
Yes.
So, like on a fretted instrument, obviously you play in the middle of the fret and you're always going to be perfectly in tune as long as your instrument and your actual instrument intonation is set properly.
Totally.
On fretless, not so much.
Nope. You're sort of flying the seat of your pants a little bit.
Yeah.
But these are, you might be able to see them on here, they are slightly different. So they're flat wound strings. So instead of round wound going that way, they're actually
smooth.
Yeah, it's a flat taper to it. So it's literally just a flat string. Helps you get that real nice sort of sliding sound.
Also stops it from cutting up the fretboard, because when you use round wound strings, obviously on a fretless, there's nothing stopping your string from actually touching the fretboard. So if you're using round wounds, it can over time kind of cut into the fretboard and make gouges out of it. Yeah. But
that's exactly what I had on mine, to be honest. It was an old Fender Jazz from the 90s, and I got it. I was like, what is all that? It's like, oh, okay, fine. Someone's been playing with round wounds on it, and it like, grated out.
It's not like a complete be-all and end-all rule of like, you must not use this under any circumstances. But if you want to protect the neck, then it's usually a good shout. But plenty of people do play with round wounds on fretless because they prefer the sound and the feel of it.
Yeah.
So,
totally. I get where they're coming from, because it gives you a little bit more grip than these do. So you're less likely to actually slide past the note that you want to hit. You've got a bit more of a chance of stopping, I find.
Yeah.
These can be very, very slinky. But yeah, you're totally right. And say these are used on fretted basses as well. You can put flat wounds on fretted basses if you want a bit of a more muted.
It's a more like a warmer, less singy sound.
That's it. Which again, for some things, might just be your thing. But full flat wound, no frets, then now you're in slinky, slippy, slidey territory.
One thing flat wounds can help with as well on fretless or fretted basses is obviously string noise. So like when you move your hand on your bass, normally you'd get like a massive kind of a sound.
Yeah.
If you want to avoid that, especially for recording, then flat wounds are always a good shout.
That's a really good shout. Yeah, I thought that.
So Lee, Cece, how do you play a fretless bass?
With great difficulty.
Yeah, with practice.
With a good ear.
Yes, well, yeah,
Over
that's
time.
totally. I mean, I was saying before here. So my old bass teacher said to me, like, look, if you're going to look at fretlesses, because I was talking about it, like, what are these? Getting into Jaco Pastorius. Like, look, if you're going to buy one, do it. But I'd recommend you just practice in the dark for the first couple of weeks. Play along with one of your favourite tunes that you're normally used to playing along with, and you'll find very, very quickly if you're slightly sharp or slightly flat, and you will find even after that first couple of weeks, you start naturally just adjusting yourself without thinking about it. Generally, it was my experience, so that was a good tip. It's worth it for ear training, definitely.
I think as well it's important to note, like, it can seem like a really intimidating instrument at first, but in all honesty, once you've played it for a bit and you get used to it, it's not too different from a fretted bass, but it feels quite alien at first.
If you were trying to do something like even just matching out an octave shape, I always used to find that I was either a little bit sharp or a little bit flat with the octave, where I'm normally used to that kind of, okay, there's my box or there's my shape or whatever. I'd play these and it'd just be like, that's not nice. So you find yourself sort of just slipping into position. Here, when it's like directly sort of below you, as it were, so 12th fret, 10th fret, around that area, I find because you can see straight down, I find it slightly easier to actually see where you're meant to be hitting. Bang on the fret, like Cece was saying. So this is where the frets aren't there, but you've got to adjust yourself a little bit forward, but not too far forward, because then you're getting another note territory. So
so like on a fretless, there'll be two ways that it might be set up. You'll have it like this, where it's got the fret markers, and then you'll have the fret dots in the middle, so it looks basically like a fretted bass. So if your bass is set up like this, then you would play on the actual fret marker, not on the fret dot. Which again can be kind of confusing at first to get your head around, because it sort of changes the way you view the neck, but eventually you'll get used to it. Some fretless basses don't have like fret markers, they only have fret dots, and quite often they're set up that you actually play on the dot.
That's right. These are by Sire, as you could probably see, part of the V10 and P10 range. This was a 5-string P10, this is a V10. I think these are the deluxes, the DX. I think these are, sweet. So these have actually just been updated as well with some new appointments, like really lightweight, USA made Wilkinson tuners. Oh no, hip shot parts, hip shot bridge. Wilkinson tuners, I think. Oh no, hip shot. I keep saying Wilkinson. They're not American made either, so it's all hip shot. Apologies. So
they are
super
gorgeous.
Yeah. Highly recommend. If you're in the market for fretless, looking at one of these. So
absolutely, yeah.
But Lee!
Oh, hello, Oz!
Why should I buy a fretless bass?
Why should you? Right, well, if you want to push your playing, and I think, and say, even if it's for a training purpose, getting used to to hearing notes or hearing chords, or definitely as like a practice bit of kit, I think it's great to have if you've got a bit of money. I mean, so you don't have to go this level. This is like the top of Sire's range. I think they do some for about 500 quid that they start from, so, there are options if you want to just to dip your toe in, as it were,
I would say maybe another reason is, like, if you already play upright bass or a fretless instrument, you might actually be more comfortable on a fretless to start with anyway.
Totally, yeah, really great shout. Yeah, and with that, you're kind of going reversing, where you're like jumping between semitones on a double bass, and then it gets a little bit tighter. Yeah, you're a little bit more in position, so yeah, you won't be able to stretch as much. I think, or if it's something that comes up, you think there's a project coming up, or something that you're sort of venturing into a certain style of music that you're hearing a lot of those players would play. Yeah, what sort of styles would you be using this for? I mean, I've heard it in a lot of jazz. We spoke about Jaco Pastorius. That was a pretty unique story. Obviously he had a fretted jazz bass and he just ripped the frets out.
As you do.
Because that was something, you just heard that sound, he wanted a bit more of that going towards a double bass. And with that, there's certain things you can do on this that you just can't do on a fretted bass. You can't do on a fretted instrument at all. Like that that kind of swelled sound, like you're saying, like. And this kind of vibrato, I'm doing that as well, I didn't even think about it, but like.
That was one thing I wanted to mention actually, about how you play it.
Okay, yeah.
It's like, quite often on a fretted instrument, you'll bend the strings. That's kind of a no-no a lot of the time on a fretless. You'll kind of vibrato it more than you'll actually bend it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just.
A wobble kind of side to side rather than up and down.
Yeah.
Which is weird if that is in your kind of technique, sort of trying to. You can do it. It gives you a bit more expression when you've got that.
It's that kind of like classic fretless sound.
Yes. Yeah. So totally. If you're in that jazz world, or it's more sort of Latin music, I've heard it a lot played in that. And even just like for one single note, even if it's not a full bass line you're playing, can add so much. Just say that kind of these swells to the.
So
See, I
like
still need practice.
Swampy,
yeah, that is. Yeah, it's a real kind of. Yeah, it's kind of stodgy kind of sound. Like it's like struggling for the note. But say you could then, when you get the speed up with that, you can hear players that play these things and you wouldn't even know. Like I've heard certain people where it's so far. Like if you're playing that kind of staccato stuff, you miss that element of letting the note really bloom, as it were.
Yeah.
So for all around, it definitely makes you play different. Makes you think and feel differently about what you're playing.
Yeah,
anyway.
and I think it lends itself to certain genres and even specific songs sometimes. Like certain songs, you'll want a kind of a nasally sound to have it cut through or match the feeling of the song, or you might want a really warm, smooth sound. And sometimes fretless basses can kind of just pull that off a lot better than a fretted bass. And kind of on a fretted bass, a lot of the time, if you do any kind of majorly slidey riffs, you end up with that kind of falling down the stairs sound, where it's like as it hits every fret. Whereas on a fretless, you can literally just go, or like slide harmonics and stuff.
That is cool, isn't it? I love that.
Which
Yeah.
you can do on a fretted bass, but it's just not quite as smooth and not quite as full. So.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, there's all those sort of tricks, you can start getting into. That is a great one. You can't do this on a fretted instrument, yeah? So like, say, play the harmonic and then just fret it and move it around. It's quite nice when it... That kind of thing. But as Cece was saying, you go, you'll get all of the fret kind of going down at the same time.
Lee, Cece!
Yes.
How does a fretless bass sound different?
Well, yes, we've touched on, a little bit of the actual, the key things, obviously, audibly that you'll hear.
Tonal qualities.
Yeah, and like I love what you said there, say, get into like that big kind of humbucker, like old vintage sound very, very quickly without doing too much to it, because it's kind of built into its own DNA. Because it's got this kind of resonance that I guess comes out where you don't put bits of metal in between, the actual sort of inhibit in the string. So you get that kind of swelled sound sort of naturally, which is really cool.
Like, they can be really expressive in ways that fretted basses can't. It kind of can improve the song if it sounds slightly out of tune, which might sound a bit weird, but it can really complement certain things.
Yeah. We think certain studio techniques now as well. Let's say just things that are in the background even, that are in layers of tunes that, just can give it a little bit of tension, a little bit of wobble.
Off. Yeah. But you can just do so much on them. Like, there's the sliding, and you've got a lot more sustain when you're sliding around. So if you've got a kind of a weird slidey bass line and you want it to really sustain instead of having to keep plucking to keep it going, a fretless is a really good shout for that. Sound effects as well.
Oh, totally. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and even after thinking, they have got such good a sustain as they are.
Yeah.
Like you put a compressor or something on this as well, and you should just be like hanging there for days. I think like literally just like wobbling all the notes. But yeah, it is quite the. I would say when you first grab it, like say, just don't think about it too much. Just don't say we're giving you all this details today. But generally, you just want to pick it up, give it a go. You'll soon hear and feel where you're going to need to adjust, you know, but just don't be scared of the thing. I think is the most important thing as well. There's things to explore and add to your repertoire and techniques, you know, with these sort of things. Don't be afraid of them, you know. Yeah. It adds a certain other level of difficulty when you're trying to keep a shape, you know, like a major third shape, but like straight away there's some improvement to be done there, you know, like, so wherever I'm doing. Which is actually just behind the line on this particular note. So that might mean that this just needs a little bit of setup just to intonate it. I would be normally naturally aiming for that line, but as you can hear, the third is just behind it at the moment. So all those teeny little bits of detail start registering, you know, and you'll naturally make those little adjustments as you practice, you know. As soon as you start releasing any tension from a chord shape like that, you start getting those sort of things moving around. So that's a whole different ball game as well, I think. Just practicing those shapes and keeping it.
That, what you just did there, weirdly, was a really good example of how expressive they can be.
Right, yeah.
That kind of thing in certain songs to create a certain mood can really enhance it, and you can't really do that on a fretted instrument.
I'm with you there. That's totally, even that. So that's just a little major 7. Sliding down to a dominant 7. That's quite. Yeah, all those sort of things where you couldn't. Going up. Yeah, some really interesting. And say you layer some effects and things to say like more your world, where like this could just, you know, there's endless possibilities what you could do with these things.
Absolutely.
Well, we should do a little bit more playing, and then we should say bye to these lovely people. Say like we've been talking, rabbing them through, but yeah, we'll have another little play, another little jam, and you'll see. We'll probably be peeing ourselves laughing at this because trying to jam with 2 fretless basses is an interesting task.
When neither of you like play very often.
No.
It's special.
So stick around for a laugh. But please, thank you for joining us today. And if you haven't already, please subscribe down below. Give us a like. All you lovely people abroad in the far off lands, we provide international shipping. So if there's anything here that you can't get in your local area, please give us a shout. But we'll be back very, very shortly with some more bassness. Yes, probably fretted next time. But
maybe.
We'll be back.
We'll see how the jam goes.
Yeah, we might smash this. This might be a new venture for us.
We're a fretless only channel now.
Love it. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you soon.
See you next time.
Ta-ta.